Hey there, my name is Brashler, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to maximize your channels on your Behringer X32. If you're brand new to my channel, I'm all about helping you feel more confident in production gear no matter where you're starting from. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, Christmas is around the corner. If you're coming up on a large holiday or a big event, or just have an extra band member that you're needing to add, maximizing the channels and organizing your board is going to help you in the long run. Now, I'm talking about how do we get to the point where we can have the maximum amount of channels on our Behringer X32 dedicated for band up on stage. And I have a couple things that I'm going to dive into today on how to maximize those channels. So the first thing that I want to talk about is first organizing. So organizing your channels is very important. And when I come up to a show file that's at a church, I see this a lot. I see vocal, 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 empty channels, acoustic, vocal, keys, bass, synth, which is kind of the keys, and then we have electric guitars. Well, this is really difficult to mix on because if you're wanting to adjust your vocals, you're having to adjust via here, these four faders, and this fader here. And what happens if you accidentally start adjusting the acoustic guitar instead of this vocal microphone over here? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to copy and paste some of my channels and reorganize these channels to have a better flow on this mixer. So when I'm looking at this first thing that I'm wanting to do is move this channel 8 vocal microphone over to channel 5 because channel 5 is not being used as we can see. Now, this does require you to actually physically move one of the cables from input 8 to input 5. The other option that we could do is we could go to input 5 and basically choose the source that this channel is on. So we can see that this is on input 8. And if we go to input 5, I could take this and go to input 8 and select that. Now, the downside of doing this, though, is we are creating a more complicated setup than just one-to-one patching. So if you have some volunteers or some newer audio engineers that are helping you out, this can get above their knowledge skill pretty quickly, unfortunately. So my recommendation is to go physically move those XLRs so that you're back to one-to-one patching if you can be. So let's change this back to being from input 5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this channel, my channel 8, and I'm going to copy this and paste it. So to copy this channel, I'm going to select my channel 8. I'm then going to press Home, so we're in the Home tab of our channel 8, and I'm then going to press Utility, which will bring up a kind of hidden menu. Then what we can do is you can press Copy. Now, when we copy, we want to make sure that all of our recall scopes are orange. If any of these aren't orange, it's not going to copy those individual parameters. So we're going to make sure that all of those are copied. And then when we go over to our channel 5, I'm going to make sure that all of those are orange again, and I'm going to press Paste. And we're going to paste our channel settings from 8 to channel 5. Once I do that, I can press Confirm. And then if there is phantom power already activated on our old input, it's going to ask you if you want to activate that on the new input. So in that case, yes, because I'm going to physically move my channel 8 into my channel 5 here, and I'm going to press Confirm. So now when we go and look at these two channels, they are identical. Everything is the same. Now, the only thing that wouldn't be the same is if we had any effects that were patched into our channel 8. So if I went into our effects section and had one of these things inserted on my channel 8, we would need to reinsert that on the next channel that we just moved it to. So for instance, if we had, say, our effects 5 inserted in our channel 8, we would then need to just go and change this to be channel 5, and we'd select it and then reinsert it. So now we have our channel 5 here, and now I have my channel 8 that's currently empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up one of my open channels, and I'm going to press Home, and I'm going to go to Utility, and I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste it over 8. That way I know that both of these channels are empty. The next thing that I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to move my synth over to channel 8, and that way that can be right next to my keys. And that way I'm reaching for the same location as my other instruments that are associated with that. So I'm going to go ahead and press select on 12 on my synth, and I'm going to press home and utility, and I'm going to press copy, and we'll make sure that all of our recall scope is still selected, and I'm going to go over to channel 8, and I'm going to press paste. Now, we want to make sure that we now unplug our synth from channel 12 and move it over to our channel 8, and that way we now have that channel working. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to move my acoustic guitar over to 12. And that way we have acoustic guitar, electric, and electric. So I'm going to select my channel 7. I'm going to press copy, move it over to channel 12, and press paste, and confirm. And then the very last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this old one after I move the XLR from channel 7 to channel 12. And I'm going to select my empty channel here. I'm going to press copy, and I'm going to paste it over this empty channel. So what we've done here is we have moved some complicated placement of some of the channels and moved them into a better suited spot. So now I have these channels 6 and 7 open for whatever I need to add later, maybe 2 more vocal mics or a couple more instruments that you have. The next thing that I want to talk about is AV inputs. So this would be something simple as a computer playback or a CD player, Pro Presenter, Easy Worship, iPod, iTunes, Spotify, any of those things. I never recommend putting those on any of our actual 32 main channels of the Behringer X32. I always recommend putting those on our aux inputs and our aux layer of the X32. Now, why is that? Well, these aux channels have slightly less processing than our main channels. So our main channels, if we select this and press home, we can see that we have our input, we have our gate, EQ, dynamics, insert, and our out. If I go and select an aux, we'll notice that our gate and our dynamics have gone away. There's only EQ that we have available to us. Now, this is okay because these are auxiliary channels, and this is taking up slightly less processing than our main channels. But for the most part, for our PC and an iPod or iTunes, Spotify, we're not needing to have a gate or dynamics on either of those type of things. So what we can do is we can actually take these 4 inputs and move them to our aux layer. Now, if you have to plug into an XLR, you would need to route the source into our aux. But on the back of the X32, we have 6 TRS inputs, which are balanced or unbalanced, as well as aux 5 and 6 also have an RCA jack on them. Now, one little trick about aux 5 and 6 is you can actually put audio into both the TRS and the RCA jack at the same time. So I could have a iPod plugged into the RCA jacks and my Pro Presenter computer plugged into the TRS inputs of aux 5 and 6. So we'd be taking up all 4 jacks of aux 5 and 6. And then what we can do is we can play audio from either the iPod, and I would turn it up, or I could play music from the computer with Pro Presenter, and I could turn it up. Now, the only caveat about this is I would have to adjust the volume between the iPod and the computer or the other thing that I have connected into those TRS jacks. I would have to adjust the volume of those two to be identical. That way, if I'm turning these up, it's a similar volume on if I'm using the iPod or if I'm using the Pro Presenter, because we wouldn't have the ability of changing the gain between the RCA jack and the TRS. So that's just one little trick that I like to do. So with the PC, so I have a PC on 17 and 18 here. I'm going to copy all of the settings and I'm going to move that to be on my aux 1 and 2. And so in this case, I'm going to plug the computer into the TRS inputs on the back of the X32. So I'm going to go and select my channel 17 and I'm going to press home, go to utility, and I'm going to press copy. Then I'm going to go over to my aux. I'm going to select my aux 1. I'm then going to press view in the configuration and preamp section and link my aux 1 and 2, because when I was on my 17 through 32 fader layer, we could see that those two inputs for the PC were linked. They were a stereo pair. So I'm going to go ahead and link aux 1 and 2. So we have confirmed. And now what I'm going to do is press Home, Utility, and I'm going to paste my channel 17 to my aux 1, and I'm going to press Confirm. So now we can see that if I'm going between my aux 1 and my channel 17, that these two things are identical. Now, the only other thing that I would want to copy over is the scribble strip settings from my channel 18. So I'm going to go and copy my channel 18, and I'm going to paste that over aux 2. Confirm. So now we have our PC in currently two different spots right now. I have it on 17 and 18 and my aux 1 and 2. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the XLRs from being on 17 and 18, and I'm going to plug those into my TRS inputs on the back of the board into aux 1 and 2. Then what we can do is we can go and overwrite these two channels. So I'm going to go copy my channel 6 because that's just an empty channel, and I'm going to paste it on channel 17. Confirm. And I'm going to also paste it on 18. Confirm. Now, because these two were linked, I need to unlink them. So I'm going to go, and I can do this from the Home tab. Right here, by having this selected, I can press Home, and it is the first button here on this rotary knob, or I can press View on the Configuration and Preamp section and unlink it here. So now we have independent control on 17 and 18. My last thing that I have here is my iPod, so on 19 and 20. So I'm going to go ahead and move this. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to press Utility. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go over to my aux 5 and 6, and I'm going to paste it here. So I'm going to go ahead and press Paste. And now, because I didn't have this linked, it didn't copy of any of the settings over to 6. So I'm going to go and select channel 20, press Copy, go back over to my aux 6 and paste. And then I'm going to link these. So I'm going to press Home, and I can link them together here. So there we go. We now have 19 and 20 as free channels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy any blank channel by pressing Copy and Paste, Confirm, and Paste, Confirm. And the very last thing is to unlink those. Okay. So what we've done is we have organized our first layer of channels, and we have opened up 4 additional channels here on our main channels of 1 through 32. We've then moved our PC to be on aux 1 and 2 and our iPod to be on aux 5 and 6. Now, what happens if you also have a DVD player and a CD player and a couple extra things that you need to have plugged in to your board, but you just don't have the space for it? Well, one thing to think about is, can you sum those to mono? Is it okay to take the left and the right channel and sum them to be a mono source? Do you need to have the stereo separation in your walk-in music, for instance? So my iPod here, do I actually need to have left and right panning in my walk-in music for this show? If the answer is no, then I suggest trying to sum those to mono by using a direct box, for instance. Some direct boxes have the ability of summing to mono, or maybe change the settings out of your computer to have the output only be coming out of one channel rather than 2. And then what you could do is you could utilize one fader for your iPod, and one fader for your DVD player, and one fader for your CD player. So any of those inputs that you have that are stereo that you could sum to mono, by summing any of those to mono, you're saving one channel every time you sum it to mono. So if you don't need to have stereo, sum it to mono. Most of the audience isn't going to notice unless they're sitting in the dead center and it's one of their favorite songs. And chances are they're still talking to someone next to them and they're not going to notice. Now, while we're talking about pre-service and post-service music, or walk-in and walk-out music, there's one thing that you can utilize to save yourself 2 channels during your show. Now, that is using the USB recorder up here. If we have a thumb drive plugged in to the top of our board, we can record a wave, a stereo wave file to this USB drive. And so what I recommend is plugging in your iPod or your music that you're planning on playing for your pre-service music. What we can then do is we can source this to output to our USB recorder. We can then record, say, an hour of music, and then we can actually use our USB recorder to play back the music at a later time for our walk-in and walk-out. Once we've moved the file over and recorded it on that USB thumb drive, we can then utilize our aux 5 and 6 for something completely different. So to do this, we can go ahead and press View on the USB recorder, and we can page select over to config. And when we're here, we can go down to direct out, and I can go and find my aux 5 and 6 where my iPod is plugged in by rotating this, and we can see direct out aux 5, and I would choose pre-fader. And then we can go to my aux 6, and then we can go and press this to get to our right side, and this one we would select on aux 6, also pre-fader. Now, why pre-fader? Well, I'm wanting to record the full volume of this, so it doesn't actually matter where this fader would be if this is on pre-fader. The other benefit is if this is turned down and you're just recording music in the background, and you're not wanting to have it go through the PA, we can have this turned down and it will still record from our aux 5 and 6 into our USB recorder. Once we've done that, we can just verify by going back over to home, and we can see that this is a direct out aux 5, direct out aux 6. Now, once we are ready to record, we can simply start playing music into this, and then we can just press record. After the hour or so of recording, when we are finished, we can press stop, and then this will save into a new file down here. So we can see R underscore the date. So 2023, 11/27, that was the day that I recorded this video. And it would give us our time. And so then what we can do is we can go and select this file, and we can play this track. And then this track would actually play back on our USB left and right, which this is only set up to be from our USB recorder. So when we do an aux remap, it's only remapping our 6 aux channels. Our USB left-right is always going to be playing from our USB recorder. So that is one other tip for maximizing the channels on your Behringer X32. I hope this video was helpful for you today. Just to recap, we covered copying and pasting channels using our aux section rather than our main inputs, and even my tip on using aux 5 and 6 with the TRS and the RCA inputs. And I even talked about using the USB recorder as our playback for our walk-in and walk-out music. If you do happen to have any questions, or if there's a video that you're hoping that I would make, please put that in the comment section down below, as I'm always reading through those comments to find videos that are going to be helpful for you. If you haven't already, make sure to check out my website at drewbrashler.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day.